This bell sleeve sweater has 1, 2, 3, 4 seams, the mock neck panel and the hems. That's a short summary of this sewing tutorial. It is a very beginner-friendly sewing project and it doesn't get much easier than this. This sweater is a great staple piece for any season and it is so quick to make. I hope you will enjoy! I'm going to use the Vanessa sweater pattern, which you can find in our Etsy and online stores. The links are down in the description. This pattern comes in A0 format, which you can print at a copy shop, and in A4 US letter format that you can print with any regular printer. There are only 3 pattern details, so there's not a lot of cutting needed. For this project you will need a knit fabric that has at least 35% of stretch. Besides that, you can pick any knits that match your taste. I personally prefer something medium weight that drapes well but not too much. However, you can pick something much lighter or you can even go for heavier fabrics such as French terry. You will also need matching threads. I highly recommend to use jersey needle for your sewing machine, otherwise you are risking to damage your knit fabric. Plus, I will use a twin needle to hem the sleeves and the lower edge. If you don't have it, I have added a video in the description with an alternative way how you can do a faux cover stitch hem. I will mostly use a serger, but if you don't have it, I have added a short video in the description on what sewing machine stitches you can use instead. Let's start by cutting all the details. I got lucky to find a pretty wide fabric. If your fabric is less than 140 cm wide, feel free to shorten the sleeves, they still will look fabulous. By the way, cut the neck panel only on one layer of your fabric. Don't forget to snip the notches. This will help us to easier match the neck panel with the front panel. Also, cut the notches at the middle points of the front and the back panel. Make small cuts in the seam allowance around 4 mm deep. If for some reason cutting notches doesn't work for your fabric, you can also use a marker or even a few hand stitches to mark these points. Let's start by preparing our mock neck panel. Fold the neck panel in half with the right sides facing. Stitch the shortest seam. You can use a serger. I personally prefer to use sewing machine's regular straight stitch because then I can get the seam more flat. If you are using a sewing machine, then stitch 1 cm apart from the edge. Press the seam open. Now fold the neck panel on half lengthwise, in a way that the wrong sides are facing each other. Press the folded edge. Lay the front panel on the back panel with the right sides facing each other. Pin the shoulder seams and let's pin the side seams as well. I'm taking so much time for myself because I'm trying to match the straps together. Serge or sew both shoulder seams and both side seams. This sweater is so wide that I couldn't get it in one frame. If you are using a serger and pins, be extremely careful to take them out before they are touching the knife, otherwise it can be really dangerous. Press the seams towards the back panel. Take your mock neck panel. The right sides are together. Find the neck panel's seam and match it with the back panel's middle point. Match the neck panel's notch with the front panel's middle point. All 3 raw edges are together. Pin around. stitch around. And again, be extremely careful with those pins. If you're not sure, you can also use a hand stitch and later take out these hand stitches when you have finished stitching the neckline. If you also use the serger, don't be lazy here. I highly recommend to take a needle with a big eye and hide the serger thread inside the seam. This will ensure that the seam never comes undone even after washing. As you can see right now, the seam allowance is all over the place. This step is optional, but I highly recommend to top stitch the seam allowance. This will fix it into place and the neckline will look neater. Make a stitch approximately 5 mm apart from the previous seam. This stitch goes through the front and the back panel and the seam allowance. I found it easier to access the neckline if I take off the extension table. Make sure that the neckline seam allowance is towards the front and back panels at all times. We are almost finished, we just need to hem our sweater. I will start by neatening the sleeve hems and the lower edge. If you have a cover stitch machine, you can skip the neatening. Now for all these 3 hems, I am going to fold 2.5 cm of hem allowance. I will mark this amount and use it as a fold line and then I will pin. I know some of you might be able to simply fold this edge and stitch right away. Feel free to do it, but I will show the most foolproof way how to nicely hem. Take the regular needle with the thread in a different color. Hand stitch through the middle of the neatening stitch. If you use the serger, make a stitch along the second needle's thread. Do this step for all 3 hems. If you are using a twin needle, set up the second thread on your sewing machine. Put the second thread the same way as the first one. The only difference is with the hook right before the needle. Some sewing machines don't even have the separate hook, then simply put together with the first thread. Thread both needles. Use the sewing machine's straight stitch. I mostly use a stitch length 3 or 3.5. You might also need to experiment with the thread tension. Very often I have to change it to a lower number than I would normally use. As always, it is best to try on a scrap fabric first, and this time it is very important to try on your actual fabric, because the thread tension settings vary a lot depending on the specific fabric. Now work from the right side of your sweater. Use the hand stitch as a guideline that goes right through the middle of the twin needles. When I am using a cover stitch machine, I also prefer to do a hand stitch first, which I use as a guideline. I think it looks very nice. Remember to take out the hand stitches. I usually cut a few stitches and then use pliers to pull them out. Give a proper press to hems and you have finished. Please give us thumbs up if you enjoyed this tutorial and subscribe to our channel for more sewing and knitting tutorials. See you soon, bye!